Hello, I'm Miles Perkins, and this is where we go beyond what's on the screen to explore what really drives the most creative minds in the real-time industry. Today we'll explore how game experiences are built and scaled in Fortnite, and how brands can leverage this to connect with millions of audience members in a very authentic way. Kasper Weber is helping shape the future of gaming and branded entertainment, and he's just getting started. He's the founder and CEO of Beyond Creative, one of the most featured teams in Fortnite Creative. And he's also a former solo creator whose games have reached over 100 million players. Kasper now leads brand collaborations with names like Mentos, Ralph Lauren, and The Tonight Show, just to name a few. In this conversation, we talk about building creative careers, making engaging digital experiences, and how gaming is the new frontier for storytelling and brand connection. Kasper, thanks for joining me. When did you first realize that you were creative and that gaming would be your canvas?
We actually have to go very far back because I actually built my very first game when I was just 10. So I was like, I've always been playing, my dad's huge into like computers and stuff. So ever since I was 3, sitting on his lap, like playing video games with him. But when I was 10, I was using something called Game Maker. I was like building my own platformer games. And then I've been touching on all sorts of different, game ecosystems, if you will, and Counter-Strike as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really fell in love with Fortnite Creative in 2018.
Mm-hmm. So 2018, you fall in love with Fortnite Creative. And at that point, I mean, what were your thoughts? Was it just like a passion for playing, or did you see something bigger?
I think it's a passion for creating and building something that I like, that I want. So when I first started, I actually worked with some YouTubers, mm-hmm. and there's been something similar in Minecraft where YouTubers would be recording videos on those games. Mm-hmm. And I was like, surely that's gonna happen with Fortnite now that you can build anything. So I was like, hey, I'm pitching 3 ideas, and they ended up taking one of them. And then I was just like, oh, cool. This YouTuber that I'm looking up to wants to play my game on video. And then like that led to the other, and then we ended up doing like 75 games in just 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
When you say we, who is we?
So that's technically just me. Okay. One-man army here.
The proverbial we. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
No, they had some ideas too, right? So.
So in those early days before, you were doing this, when did you start to realize that, hey, wait a minute, this actually might be a vocation, this might be a business?
I was in April, so we're 5 months into it. I'm studying software development at the University of IT in Copenhagen, and I realized that you could get featured and earn from supported creator and actually make a living from it. So I was one of the fortunate creators to get a feature, as we called it way back, and that allowed the funds for me to go all in on 1 year and just say, I'm gonna give it my all, and that's eventually what kicked off everything. So. Yeah, that was April 2019.
Oh, wow. So that was, I guess, that means that you're creating, and it pretty much is staying within the creative ecosystem. Fast forward to UEFN coming out. What's your thought at that point?
At UEFN, we had actually scaled the studio to be more than 15 people. So it was more the creative product, game design, like I more had like an eye on it. But when UEFN came on, and became like such a game changer that it became, I didn't really do all the programming anymore.
Right.
I'm still touching it, still moving some props around, but all the technicalities that we have experts in that now. Okay.
And so as you're getting this going, you're starting to do this, you're operating within the ecosystem. At what point did you actually start that company? I mean, really take me back and take me through the process.
Yeah.
Especially in the context of, maybe there are other creators out there that are trying to figure out how can I be like Kasper? Like, what is it? What was that path for you?
I think I've just always tried, and it's always been like, building games and games and games. Your first game may not be the success, but then you go on to the next game and the next game again. And in my case, I was fortunate to be recognized. So back in 2019, there was the Fortnite Creative World Cup, Hollywood Game Jam, something, a really big thing at the time. And we're building, games for the Fortnite Creative World Cup. There was I think there was a $5 million prize pool dedicated to these games. We had 4 days. That's a lot of pressure. But ultimately, the passion for creating these games and meeting fellow creators in the ecosystem, we were 16 builders. So we met, and one of those actually ended up being my co-founder in this studio. So we, after the World Cup happening in 19, we realized there's a lot of brands, a lot of IPs, a lot of artists that are interested in this ecosystem because they saw what we now could do. So we founded a company with the main goal of really building the games with the brands we look up to that we wish we would experience if we were the players, which we are.
Interesting. Okay. And so I think that's fascinating also because one of the things that I kind of want to understand better is the ecosystem of brands that are coming in. Beyond, you guys have created something that engages with these brands and creates these kinds of experiences. Did you initially know, that's the thing that I'm going to do, or did you trip across it, or how did that come into being?
I think we felt very fulfilled working with the brands that we've looked up to. And our very first brand was, I believe, working with the Nickelodeon. And I'm like, oh, what's that? Way back, that's so cool. So we had a lot of fulfillment, and being just 3 and seeing the demand that came in, we really wanted to pass on that opportunity down to other creators. And we were fortunate to have a community behind us. So we, Liam, myself, and our last co-founder, Tommy, we all had YouTube channels in our own respective areas. So we had around 100,000 in gameplay. I was recording myself playing these games with those YouTubers I started with. Liam, he had 120,000 followers and doing art. So he'd built the most ambitious projects, and other creators would be like, what is he doing? We're still battling that with memory today. Always building things 80% too big. But, and then Tommy, he had a good chunk, 60,000 followers or something on programming. And we were like, that's 3 different areas we can go together. And then our very first hires, when I talk about passing down the opportunity of working with brands, came from our own community.
Okay, and you guys really reached out to one another. You knew each other on the outside, or how was that?
Yeah, we knew each other in the ecosystem.
Okay.
So before me and Liam met at the World Cup, we had spoken on Discord hours on end every day for I think 3 or 4 months, and then that opportunity arose, and we were like, oh, what? It's LA, it's cool. Why don't we go there 4 days before and just hang out? I didn't know what he looked like.
Right.
Yeah, let's get a hotel together. We can share a room, sure. So it's I end up standing there in the airport, someone's tapping me on my shoulder, and I'm like, who are these guys? And they're like, the voice is familiar.
Right.
Oh, you are Maka Makes.
That's awesome.
So I ended up, going to LA, cross seas, hanging out with some guys that I met virtually here, building Fortnite games, and we were just all super passionate about everything that we do in this space.
Right. That word that you say there, passion. One of the things that I really like to talk about is, the technology is great. It enables. People always push beyond the technology. But it's the passion that makes something that people really connect with. Talk a little bit about what that passion is for you and how that passion also relates to the business.
Yeah. I mean, the passion, I feel like you can see the passion in the product. And to be a good business, you need a good product. So if you don't have passionate people, I feel like you can just tell. It's like you're crossing off a list of key features you just need to have. Of course, you need that list crossed, but I feel like you need something more, something that shows you have attention to detail, whether it's Easter eggs, whether it's some story around the game. And also, to pull off some of these big projects, you just need to work hours and hours on end, especially when you're not 15 like we are now, but when we were just starting out, we had to pull long nights and long days. So to get to where we are today, it just took a lot of passion.
Yeah, but the other part is those long days, long nights. I'm curious, if you didn't have the project, would you still be doing that anyway?
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah,
I was.
exactly.
I was building for the ecosystem, and had an unhealthy amount of Fortnite hours, I would say. That was more than a full-time job. That was a full-time job and a half, I would say. Well, that's because you go to bed and you can't sleep. You're thinking about what's the next game I'm going to do, and you're just excited to wake up the next day to start on that game. That's the type of magic that I think an ecosystem like Fortnite is allowing, the next generation of developers to have, or creators.
Right. So I think, as we start to look at some of the different forms of entertainment, of creativity, of design, can you tell me a little bit about what are the fundamental things as you look at your creative process? What are the fundamental things that you feel that you need to have in order to be creative? Like some directors, they come from an emotional point of view and they really want to connect. Some people connect to the story a little bit more. What are the things that really drive you to create a playable game that people haven't seen before and generate a lot of fun?
I think the best thing about creating the games is actually seeing players play them. Or if there's marketing budgets behind the brand, seeing your favorite influencer play the game. So when we build our games, we always aim to put the player first, always in the player's interests. What do they want? Because although as great as Fortnite and the ecosystem is, there's a lot of experiences out there. And if you're not giving them exactly what they're looking for, someone else will. So we always want to build around what do the players genuinely want and how can we best meet that. So, but I would say actually seeing the players play the game, and maybe even in voice chat, hearing them whenever they're frustrated, whenever they're happy, whenever they're cheering, that's so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. You talked about also the process of you and your two co-founders of being on YouTube and showing people your process as you're building.
Yes.
I find that to be also really fascinating because a lot of creative people live for the process, not always for the end result. Can you tell me a little bit about that community that was built and how you guys built around the process?
When we made a Fortnite game, a lot of it was based on our YouTube channels as well. So we would drive the community into those games, and we would actually collaborate as well. So Liam, myself, and actually our friend or colleague Chad Mustard from Diogo, an immature gamer, we used to do like these 4-hour build challenges where we would take a random topic, give ourselves 4 hours, and see how far we got. And then we would actually share that game with our community. So it was kind of like built for the community.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we had a spinning wheel, so it landed on a certain theme, and then we had to do it. So and then the community would suggest themes for us.
So now, okay, fast forward. You stand up Beyond Creative.
Yes.
You've now engaged with Nickelodeon.
That was not a Beyond Creative, but yeah.
Oh, it wasn't. Okay. No. That was before.
That was before. That's someone that we weren't even like established as Beyond Creative way then. That was with a whole other set of guys just learning this, and we just had such fulfillment. So we ended up eventually deciding, hey, we want to build a studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about that process. So you have success with the Nickelodeon, and then what happens?
What happens is that we need to learn how to do a business and all the logistics, all the managerial things, and that's a process. That's about the process. That's not a destination you reach. Then something else comes up, and you need to learn that, right? So, but no, it started off just being 3 to 5 guys just building, splitting whatever income there was, and not really thinking so much about any numbers or anything in that sense, and just having a lot of joy working with the brands we all look up to and seeing our influencers or our favorite influencers playing it, right? So that was the transition that had to be, that we went through.
So I think also the interesting part is you and Beyond Creative engage with brands that you think fit, right? Can you tell me a little bit about some of those first experiences you had working with brands? Because I know a little bit about what we refer to as the advertising agency kind of process and methodologies. That was probably a bit eye-opening to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had no idea about the whole sort of like advertising industry and how everything was connected or layered. What we do is we try to always work with the brand in the most authentic way to the platform. Not every brand's dealt the same cards. So it's about figuring out what cards do they have, what do they allow in a Fortnite game, and how can we best sort of like not fit the players into what they allow, but fit them into what exists. So, of course, not doing it in a way where we just make a game and put some logos on. It needs to be more than that. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. So we always try to think, what can we do with the brand that we do have, and that's not the same for every brand.
Authenticity, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the thing that I'm seeing out there is that the traditional advertising, there's an economy for the audience, right? I will give you something, and in turn, I'll watch your thing. But you're talking about something else, where you're giving something that is really entertaining, regardless of the brand.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about television, you're watching a show, 60 minutes, whatever, and then there's a 10-minute ad break. Are you sitting through watching the full 10 minutes? Where like in Fortnite, if you do it in a very authentic way and an engaging way and a gamified way, the players may play with the brand. It's like not your 30-second slot in that 10-minute like duration. It's like, no, you get 15, 30, 45 minutes of potential game engagement on a platform like Fortnite. And I think that's super eye-opening. And I think that's a transition we hopefully will see more of in the next 3, 5, 10 years.
I'd also imagine that's a bit challenging, though, for the brands themselves, because sometimes what's fun about a brand might be the thing that is a bit tongue-in-cheek about the brand, right? It might be that they exist in a way that, with a certain demographic that isn't necessarily how they position themselves. How do you navigate that?
That's true. I think in general, most brands should be very open to like exploring what way they best fit into a certain game, because how they fit into Fortnite might be different to how they fit into another game.
Right.
A really cool project we did with PBH and Metavision here for an integration in an existing game was we built a Mentos Bazooka. That's the first custom branded weapon, and it's skinning the 3D model on top of a Fortnite rocket launcher. So players are actually using this weapon, a non-lethal weapon, but they're using it in, an existing game, multiple existing games, and they're just having fun with it. So I think that's an example of both agency and brand really going in a direction that, is really authentic to what players like in Fortnite.
And there wasn't any desire to even do some cross-branding with a certain soda company?
I am not in those conversations, but that could have been really cool. Yeah.
I joke about that, but that's the thing.
I would have loved that.
Audience, right? Because you are the audience, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing that I think that you bring to the table is you're very much the player. You're the demographic.
Yeah, that is very much the position that we take, and what I think makes us very unique. We're very niche in Fortnite. This is our expertise, or UEFN, if you will. And we started out being just Fortnite creators, and when UEFN came around, we started hiring more UE devs or creators. But we were very particular on finding the ones that had an existing passion for Fortnite. So there may be someone that's working in another AAA studio, but they really like Fortnite and they want to do cool stuff around Fortnite, and then they're a great fit for us. So today I'm very proud that we have a really good balance between like half Fortnite creators and Fortnite creators and UE developers. So, we learn from the UE developers how to best utilize the engine, and we teach them what they don't know about Fortnite. So that's a nice dynamic there.
Yeah, no, I think that is great. It feels much more authentic than some of the scenarios that you have where something's kind of being forced in.
Yeah. No, it's not forced, but we do play forced Fortnite every Friday.
Okay.
We have a 2-hour session. It's called Friday Fun or Feedback Friday. Depends on what we're playing.
Right. Which is, again, very important, I think, for the product.
We need to see what's going around, and if you're not doing it over the weekend, we're dedicating 2 hours on Friday where you can see what's the coolest innovation, what did some other creator make that's super cool, how can we direct inspiration, or what can we do better, or what, really just seeing.
So UEFN, one of the things about those tools and the UE tools is Fortnite has a certain look to it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very distinct look. UEFN allows you to do anything. It really unleashes Unreal to give it any look that you want to have.
Yes.
But I would imagine there still is a little bit of a tension between the people who are coming to play Fortnite and something looking completely different.
Yeah, we don't want to throw the player off. So they want to play, usually, it depends on the demographic within Fortnite as well. Some players like hyper-realistic stuff. We saw that with the body cam trend. Some players want to play more stylized stuff. So it depends on the type of game that you're trying to make. A lot of brands really want to make very hyper-realistic stuff. So we've done that. But I think there's also some brands that's looking more in the stylized way. It really depends on the game and the brand. In terms of the transition from Fortnite Creative 1.0 to now, as you say, like, we can do so much more now.
Right.
And one of the very first UEFN experiences we made for a brand was a racing game where you raced against a Honda car. And like, that Honda car was 3D model, it was perfect. But what you don't know is that in Fortnite Creative 1.0, we were manually building the Honda in large out of like 4,000 cubes. And when you're asked, hey, can we change the slope a little bit? That's like 300 squares I'm moving.
Right.
It's way different now. It's way better.
Right.
And we had the same issues then.
Well, I find that is fascinating because no matter what, you were doing it. Right?
Yeah, no, we were doing it.
Yeah, no matter what. And I think that that's really the cool thing is that you have people that are always pushing the tool because they're always trying to do something that is new and hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
Is that one of the parts of the DNA of who you guys are?
Yeah. That's, we wanted to do more than what
yeah.
creative is part, like what creative unlocks.
Right.
So it's always been like, in Fortnite Creative 1.0, it's maybe a bit easier than now, but we wanted to always push what can we do that hasn't been done.
Right.
And that may be creating a large-scale product. It may be building a car. Right now, it may be making your own drivable car in a way that it doesn't feel, hacky. So we're just always trying to find ways that we can, do more. And with the vision that we hear about whenever we come to Unreal Fest for these State of Unreal keynotes, it's super exciting to see what is going to be beyond Fortnite or beyond creative. What's going to be after.
Right.
That's something we're very excited about.
Right. Okay, so you guys create Airship Wars, and you reach over 116 million minutes played.
Yes.
Right? So I want to know about finding the fun, because clearly within that, you found the fun. People were in there. How do you do that? You know what I mean? Is it fresh? Is it older game mechanics that are rethought of, or like how do you approach that?
That was, I would say that's a game genre that's been rethought of. And it also goes back to our DNA of doing something most people wouldn't. So that Airship Wars, which has had many names, from blimps to pirate ships to spaceships. So it's built out of planks. We placed every plank manually. I don't know how many planks there are, but they're placed manually. And that's because that allows us to destroy the ship. So you can, it's a red versus blue game, which is a very popular genre, but this game allows you to take on the ship from different places. Like you can, explode your way through different floors to go down to these reactors where if you eliminate all 3 reactors, you win the game. So it's just a different way of a red versus blue, but where, you can destroy the entire ship if you want to. And that it doesn't exist. If you go into most team deathmatch games now, you can't really destroy the environment, but this one was fully destructible.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, and people, I'd imagine just that newness of that really got people excited.
It did, and we saw people making their way into the ship in ways we were like, wow, we need to fix this.
Okay, so one of the other things, let's talk back about the brands. I would imagine the brands don't all the way understand this. They understand that they want, if not need, to be in these spaces, and they need to know it in a really authentic way, not just as okay, I'm going to throw money on the table, go do stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's not like build it and they will come. No, you need to build it for them to come.
Yeah. Okay, so let's think about looking forward. So as someone who knows this platform incredibly well and actually understands Fortnite as a platform. What are you excited about moving forward?
Mobile.
Okay.
Yeah, mobile.
Okay.
I know any technical person would probably say scene graph, and that's going to unlock some crazy tech and some crazy games. But I'm really excited about players and different types of players because they're going to unlock the different types of game genres beyond what most people think Fortnite is all about, which it's not. But it's like it's going to unlock those casual gamers that may want to play platformers, that may want to play infinite runners, whatever it is. So that's what I'm looking very much forward to.
And I mean, are you saying that you're focused on mobile, or are you saying something that is across all and can kind of open that up?
It's just that it opens it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that we will specifically build just for mobile.
Yeah.
Who knows, depending on how mobile develops, right? But for now, it's just really nice to, be able to get that user or audience back.
Yeah. Anytime, any place kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you're to ask, you want to ask Epic Games, hey, if you could do this for me, that's going to give us a rocket boost. Besides mobile, what's that thing that's going to just be a game changer?
It's going to be a promotional model, so you can actually make more calculated spikes in your CCU count in Discover tab. So if you've made an update, right now Discover tab is really good at giving you a push of 50,000 impressions, and out of those impressions you get some players. But it'd be really cool if you could do some paid media behind it, so you could actually experiment a few times with your games, make a change, experiment again, make a change, experiment again. And some brands want to do a really big splash, and they would probably be happy to put some paid media behind some of their games as well. So I think that would be huge for the space.
Awesome. If you have a platform now to say, hey, we want to talk, what brand is that?
I'm really proud of the brands we've already worked with. I actually really am grateful for who we've been able to work with. I would not have seen that coming 4 years ago. So no, I don't have one brand, but I think some of our recent work is really cool and speaks for itself. We're super proud and excited to see the Star Wars Watch Party being mentioned at the keynote. That makes all of our Star Wars fans at our team in the Discord being like, oh, did you know that happened?
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm super proud of that.
And I have a personal question also, as someone who's, lives in Copenhagen and, you have the world view and, you've kind of come up. You worked with Jimmy Fallon.
Yes.
Did you ever see that coming? I mean,
that was so cool, but no, I did not. And we got to see his show, and everything was super cool. Yeah, no, that was a really cool experience.
Tell me more about it. I mean, what was that like for you? Because I can only imagine, going from being a Fortnite creator before the business to, okay, I'm going to Jimmy Fallon, and he's gonna do what we tell him to do?
I mean, I remember sitting on this Zoom meeting, and it was just so cool. But he's a human like any other, right? Yeah. So it was just a really cool experience. Didn't get a selfie this time around, unfortunately. But we did build always next time. But we did build a really cool experience, a replica of 30 Rock. So that's something that we couldn't really do in Fortnite Creative 1.0. It's really hard to measure how big is one building, the street, etc. But we did that in 1.0, and you could only imagine the type of replicas you can do now.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's actually sometimes quite fun not fun, but nostalgic, I would call it, to look back at some of the work that you've been doing in 1.0.
Yeah. Well, I would say always take that moment, be present, and appreciate those things, because I do think that from a creative point of view, that's what makes creative special, right? Yeah. To be able to be in that moment and create, create for now, not necessarily later. So I think nowadays we have a lot of a whole new generation of creators out there that, of course, my generation, it was all about film and television. But now we have these kind of transmedia creators. And you just talked about Jimmy Fallon, which that's a very transmedia kind of thing. What advice do you have for some of those people who are coming up, who are on your YouTube channel or checking you out? And what advice would you give them?
I would say, regardless of where you're building or where you're creating, it's to always be public. Like, share what you're working on, because you never know who you're going to meet. And regardless of if you're building in Fortnite or Unreal Engine or something else, there's going to be a community in that space. And they're going to see what you do. And who knows, maybe you find your co-founder after talking on Discord for 4 months.
I think that's beautiful because, I mean, I think that's one of the themes when I talk to people, whether they're film directors, whether they're people who are in music or anything. I think that's actually one of the themes is finding a great team.
Yeah.
Right? And what is it about that team for you? Because, I mean, we can find a team that, you know, people are paid to sit down and engage with one another, but what's special about what you just said about finding your people?
It's about finding someone that shares your passion and that shares your belief in what this could be. So it's, for us, it was very much finding some like-minded people that, you know, they're doing great work, they're really passionate, they're putting in the hours, and you can tell because of their work. And then also like someone that you really like would consider a friend, where it's like, you can hang out and do stuff, even if you're not building. I think that's very magical when you find that balance.
Yeah. And so for some of the young people who are coming up, to find those and to be in the moment, and is there anything else that you know, holding true? Because I mean, you really went all in also. It feels like you had a real belief in what you were doing.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of belief, and I think that is what you need. You also can't just bounce around from a lot. You should always be like excited, and you should always learn and always keep your eyes out, but also like you should also really hone in and say, I'm gonna bet on this, and I'm gonna be the best at this, at Unreal Engine, for instance, like within Unreal Engine. So I think that is probably something that I think is really important. Perseverance and just sticking to it.
Yeah, and you know, I'm a firm believer. I think a lot of parents who are out there, you know, want their kids to do the safe thing, the thing that in their day defined them. But I think it's a brand new world, increasingly so right now, right?
It's a world for creators. So like, it's just going to allow you to do so much more with, you know, what you got, whether you're using advanced tools, whether you can find information online, tutorials, courses, whatnot. Like, there is so much information for you to get that you can get started right away. And I think it's about grabbing that opportunity as soon as you can and just learning.
I always have a thing, there's nothing to it but to do it. And it seems like increasingly so that's the case with the tools that are available.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think, you know, the reach that some of these tools have, because I could never imagine that 119 million hours, like having accessibility to a group of people that large to create that kind of impact.
Yeah, that's the thing. Also, like, a lot of people are building for their portfolio and passion projects, but nobody may never ever see it outside of ArtStation. But it's like, you could technically gradually port it into Fortnite and see, like, what do players think? And get some fun analytics and, you know, see how they engage. And you never know. I think definitely, like, publish your work and make sure it gets seen, whether it's in social media or whether it's in Fortnite.
I'm curious about something and your perspective on something. We have audiences that we're all competing for the eyeballs of our audience. Where do you see the future going in terms of, you know, in one case we have what I refer to as linear content, meaning animation and television and that kind of thing that you sit and you have a passive experience, versus experience, which is you hanging out with your friends, just kind of kicking it and doing stuff, versus gaming. How do you see those three? Do you see those three things as separate, or do you see them as needing to coexist?
I don't think they need to coexist. We don't know, but I don't necessarily see a world where there's not gonna not be linear content. I think there absolutely is. I just think there's gonna be an increasing amount of your entertainment, like, time that's gonna go into 3D games and stuff.
Okay, I have a last question in two parts. What brings you worry? What brings you joy?
the joy gotta be the players. Like that's gotta be it. Seeing like that is why we started in the first place. So seeing that there are a lot of players that's playing the game that you just released, that always will be joy. Hopefully they love it. What brings me worry is probably the roadmap. There's so much that we still need to do, but that's because the platform is only so young. So like if I could have all the features now, I would get them. But I know that some things that I'm waiting for and that I'm hoping is gonna get into this platform, they may be 1 or 2 years out. So it's like, when do we get them?
Kasper, it's been so great to sit here and talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to what you do next, and it's really an honor to be able to be the hope.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.